Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. Welcome to the Commonwealth cabin. Listen, this has been a heck of a few days. I just got back, literally just pulled in about a half an hour ago, played with the dogs, took care of a couple of loose ends from a 4-day sourcing trip, a 7-hour drive, and I've got about 2 hours to get this video done and to pack all this stuff up before I head out of here to meet up with my family for a few more days of doing something else. It's been crazy. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to show you the pile of stuff we bought as well and a few other things. Let's go take a look. As you can see, the dogs are super happy to see me. They've been playing with me for the last half an hour, so they're ready for a little nap. But this video is going to be quite a bit different because I'm under the gun here. I'm under the clock. I've got to get going really quick. So I'm going to pull 2 items, and then I'm going to answer a question that you guys sent to me. Then I'm going to pull 2 more items, and then I'm going to answer another question that you sent me. And we're going to do that until I get tired, until I got to ship and get the heck out of here and meet up with my family. We're going to start off with this soap right here that I picked up at an estate sale. Really good condition for that one. These sell really quickly for $1. And it sold for $19.95 with shipping. The next one was a bit of a, well, it really wasn't a risk. I knew it would work out, I guess. But I spent $200, $199 on this right here. And it was marked at $400 at a yard sale. And they said, I'll take half off. So for 200 bucks, I bought this thing right here, knowing it would sell pretty quick. Good sell-through rate at the price I was going to put it at, $359.95. So that's $200 into that. And after all the fees and everything, leaves me with just under $115 profit on that one. And it took 3 days to sell from when I bought it. Is that right? I think that's right. So not bad. Considering I bought 2 of them, that means I'll make $230 on a $400 investment in more than likely not longer than a week or so. I'm a little surprised that one hasn't sold already. Hey y'all, I'm sitting here in a little bit of a traffic jam. Thought I would start doing some questions. I'm on my way home from the beach, actually. Rainy week. No sun, no beach, but that's all right. So I have a question here. This one is from the Commonwealth Picker Facebook page, Paul. He says, what do you think, or excuse me, what do you look for when picking granny square blankets? We see them out in the wild often enough, but I have no idea how to tell if they're good or garbage. Thank you. All right, Paul, so here's the deal with granny square blankets. I sell them really well. It's a little bit harder for some other folks to sell them, I think. I would say 40% of the granny square blankets that I sell to viewers. So keep that in mind. However, there is an increasing market for them if, and this is your question, what you're looking for. So first of all, you don't want to buy anything that's dirty, that has a ton of holes in it, although holes aren't the end of the world, and I'll tell you why in a second. And you want to find ones that have a good, strong, knit together. They're in good shape. I call them tight when I'm out there buying them. So those you got to check first, right? You want to look for holes. You want to look, dog hair. You don't want any of that stuff. There's not enough money in it to be dealing with that stuff. However, if you can find some that are the traditional colors and that are really big, you're going to do well on them. The bigger, the better, and here's why. And the other colors sell well too, but not as good as the traditional ones, I think, most of the time, unless you find some that are really unique to, say, like Halloween or something with those type of colors or fall colors. Anyway, size matters for this reason. There are tons of folks out there selling at these vintage markets and stuff like that that are turning those granny square blankets into clothing. I've seen people out there wearing pants. I've seen people out there, in sweaters and stuff like that. And there's more and more of that. So I think that the biggest factor, once you check those boxes of cleanliness and it's well made and stuff like that, is size. The smaller ones will do fine, but you're not gonna make much money. So you better not pay more than $1 or $2. The next one I'm super glad about. It has been around for a while. At first I thought it was one of these. I sell those every once in a while, but this is the one that's been around a long time, finally sold, and I'm super happy. It is a Donvier, not the ice cream maker, but the yogurt maker. And I paid just $1 for this way back when. $21.95 plus shipping, and it took forever. Sold a couple of records that I just pulled out here, Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin right there. Those two sold to the same person. Sold to Bradley, sold to Crosley Field. He said he had this one as a cassette when he was a kid. I think that's what he said. Yep, that one right there. And he said he wore that thing out. So he's buying both of these right here for $35.90 plus shipping. Hey, I got a question from Mr. Paul Morse, former teacher. He says, do you ever miss teaching? Did you miss giving it up to do eBay and social media full time? So there are times, especially when there's certain topics in the news, that I really miss the ability to connect with kids and to pass on some wisdom. But for the most part, I think the answer is no. I mean, let's face it, I'm getting an ice cream here, and my kids haven't even showed up yet. My wife's in a different car, by the way, today. I drove down from the 127 sale a day later than they went to the beach. So the fact that I have the ability to do this instead of being in school right now, whew, it's quite a blessing. Sold a Wile E. Coyote mug. My pop picked this one up at a sale when I was gone about a month and a half ago on a Saturday, and he said he paid $1 for it. And I said, sweet, I'll give you a couple. Gotta pay him for gas, you know. And genius at work. And that one right there sold for $14.95 plus shipping. Hey, this one's off of the Commonwealth Flipper community page. Actually, there's two. Brooks Damron 4317 says, are we there yet? No, but I did make it to North Carolina, so that's cool. We're getting close. Virginia next. And I have another question. Michelle says, where I live in Maryland, thrifting is not conducive to reselling. And that certainly is true of a lot of folks in different places. So we always don't have a lot of yard sales in our area either. How do you find yard sales to source, and how do you find a lot in one area on a Saturday? Well, believe it or not, where I'm at, there are not that many yard sales. I travel a long ways to get to different yard sales. Occasionally there's a community sale, but it's pretty rare where I'm at. I personally use Facebook for most of that, but I like to go the road less traveled. I don't think it's always the best strategy to go to the community sale. I think sometimes when there is a community sale in an area where there isn't a ton of them, everybody goes there, and boy, you can pick the outlying areas pretty well. That's usually the strategy I use. This next one I picked up at a sale. I almost left it there for two different reasons, but I ended up picking it up, obviously, because I have it. It is a size small for one. It is 2014 Tour Kiss Def Leopard. And the person would not budge off of $5, and it was a size small, and I'm just like, I don't know. And I just decided in the end, I'm like, you know what, I know, bare minimum, I'm gonna get like 14, 15 bucks for this. And it might be actually pretty good. And it turned out that there were no smalls listed. So I put it out there at 20 bucks plus shipping, and I got it. I think this one is a great question from Tammy Byers. She says, do you have a plan to retire from reselling someday? Or is the love of what you do going to keep you doing it until you can't? So I'd say there's a two-part answer to this, maybe even three, but I'll try to keep it to two. As far as retiring, yes, I have a plan to retire. I want to retire. I think that's something that a lot of resellers who are doing this exclusively don't really take into account too much if this is your only stream of income. Personally, I mean, I'm not an accountant here. I'm not going to be a financial advisor, but you know, the biggest tool is a Roth IRA for folks like us, and I try to fully fund that every year. I do have a very, very small pension because I worked 21 years. I don't get that. I won't get that until I'm 65, unfortunately. If I would have finished out 9 more years of teaching, I'd have a full pension. This one's going to be pretty small. I have no plans of getting back in and finishing those 9 years, but I could, I suppose. I'm still fairly young. So I do plan on an exit strategy from content creation over time, because this stuff, that's what people don't realize. It's very volatile. When you're in content creation, you have massive swings in how much money you generate from that. And one of those plans, believe it or not, is shop comments. That's going to be something that I hope to draw some income from for a very long time, and so far it's gone very, very well, so I'm excited about that. But I have other things in place that hopefully can generate money for a fairly long time. But as far as strictly reselling, I have no doubt I'll be reselling long after I post my last video on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or any of those places. I just like it that much. So, but you know, sometimes you just can't do it forever either. Your body gives out, sickness, whatever. So you got to make those plans. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, as you can see, the front porch is full. And we have just an absolute ton of stuff that we sourced. And some of it's back there already. We have been buying like crazy. But this is what's sold right here. It is an Indiana glass fairy lamp right there. And that one right there, I paid $5. And it sold for $19.95 plus shipping. So not a huge profit, but I'm just trying to learn little bits and pieces. Can't wait to show you the video for those. You're not going to believe that. I'm getting slightly better with the help of my buddy Tim over the years, but I think it's a slow process and I'll probably never be anywhere near proficient. But you know what? I'm a little better this year than I was last year. This one's not exactly a question, but Spot Kick Productions says, I'd love to see you give a breakdown of the actual cost of an item, including the cost of the item, credit card interest, selling fees, shipping, gas, cost of other items that didn't sell, eBay subscription fee, accounting, income tax, office supplies. It took me years to figure this out, but people need to realize all the costs. So, whew, I'll tell you what, maybe I had to keep my phone out for this one. Let's do it one by one here. First of all, I do these. I do this sort of, right? I'll look at an item, and I used to write these down all the time. I'll probably do it again in the future. And I would put down obviously how much I paid for the item and what the shipping cost was, what the shipping supplies were, whatever. And then at the end of it, I would do a miscellaneous. And that miscellaneous price, it varies obviously, but you can kind of, you know, if you know all your other expenses generally, and then you know how many items you sell a year, you can build in a cost of that miscellaneous. It's not as much as you might think, depending on how you do things. You know, accounting, if you have a bookkeeper, those kind of things. But those are set costs, and you can kind of average those into a sale, and you might say, hey, 5%. You know, let's say you sell $200,000 worth of stuff a year. Let's do $100,000 to make it easy. And you know your cost of, say, electricity, gas, if you have, you know, accountant or doing your taxes or all these other miscellaneous costs. If you know that cost and you know what you sell a year, then you can average in your percentage into each item. The cost of an eBay store, or if you have a subscription to a cross lister or something like that, you can average those in and get a pretty good idea, and then take that cost and put it in each item if you're trying to break it down item by item. As far as credit card, I can't imagine, this is me doing this business, paying credit card interest on what you're buying to sell. That seems like a pretty poor way to do it. And I picked this one up, actually my dad picked this one up too. I take it back for $1. And we had it listed for $20 plus shipping over on eBay. It's a vintage 91 Marine Corps, or 81 Marine Corps, made in USA jerseys, sweatshirt, Marine Corps pride. My buddy Joe, who's on the Reseller Leftovers podcast, almost said Reseller Information Network. I listened to all those guys. A lot of guys from both podcasts were there. Dan in Demand and who else? Joe, Philly Picker, and Jimmy are on that podcast, along with a bunch of other folks, which I'll mention later, or maybe in the next video. We had a great time, and we'll kind of go over it. Probably on the Trashcast podcast is when we're going to go over that highway sale at the 127. But he was sitting right next to me, and his wife sent him a message, said, hey, I just saw this sweatshirt on Kevin's reel, I think. It was Facebook or maybe Instagram, I can't remember. She says, ask him how much he wants for it. And I said, it's on eBay. And it was $20, so he sent me a message, and I gave him a $10 offer plus shipping, and Joe picked it up. So as a favor to me and those guys, they've got a terrific podcast. I really enjoyed. I was on it not too long ago. An episode a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. You can go check that out if you want to. But go over there and give him a sub. Next question is from Shane, Soda City Flips. Go check, he's got a YouTube channel, and he's on the Reseller Locker Room podcast, and he commented on the community page. This is where the questions are coming from on the Commonwealth Flipper channel. Although I'll probably pull some from the Facebook page, and I think I posted them on Instagram as well, so I'll probably pull some from there as well. So he says, what has been the most surprising lesson you've learned about balancing content creation with running a successful reselling business? I can't seem to find a happy medium. This may not apply to you, Shane, because you're in a different situation. You have a full-time job as well, I believe. So this is my answer to the question, though. It's prioritizing things that must be done, and I do it in a pretty specific way every day, and this doesn't count the sourcing days. So for me, I wake up every day and I do what has to be done to keep all of everything rolling. My content is obviously reselling content. So without reselling, you don't have much content, although there are some people on YouTube who seem to not resell and put out plenty of content, but that is a different story. So my priority in the morning is to work on eBay. It's not always eBay, but 95% of the time it's work on eBay first. It's listings first thing in the morning. And the second priority is the end of the day. What has to be done that you have no choice but to do, I put that at the very end of the day. So the beginning of the day is listing on eBay. The end of the day is shipping for eBay. And those have to be done. And everything else kind of follows a different priority line depending on what day it is for me. I release 5 full-length videos a week. And so for the days that a picker video comes out, that's the priority. For the days that a flipper video comes out, that's the priority. For the days that the podcast comes out, or record the podcast on Tuesdays, Trash Cash Podcast, that's the focus. Usually that's on Sundays. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag for me, and the days off that I have where I'm not putting out, actually Tuesday is one of my days that I have off, and the other one is really Friday and half a day on Sunday. And I don't mean I have them off from eBay. I never have a day off from eBay. Well, sort of, I guess I do. But I mean off from the tedious task of editing full-length videos and doing thumbnails and titles and all that. So those days are when I focus on the content for the Garage Sale Nation channel and for Facebook and for TikTok, because those are not my priorities. Well, Facebook maybe to some degree, but reselling and reselling content requires reselling. And so you got to go out and source, you got to list, and you got to ship. And so that's priority number one. And it brings in a massive amount of money on top of it. And then you have content to actually put out the other stuff. So I know it's a long answer to a question, but that's my answer. Have these combat, what do they call these? Challenge coins or medallions or something from different missions in the military. And I think I have 3 left, or 4, and 2 of them sold. And here are the 2 that sold. Deployment and Distribution Battalion. All the way, let's roll. And then this one as well. So 2 different coins headed out to the same person, $14.95 and $19.95 plus shipping. This one is from Jason. He says, when you go to a sale and figure out it's a lump for everything in a very low price, do you make another loop? In other words, you've bundled everything together and they're giving you one full price for everything and it's super cheap. Would you make another loop after the fact, and normally of stuff you'd normally leave behind, and even throw in more expensive items because it's so cheap? Yes, absolutely. They say it's always a moral battle in my head, so I don't understand the moral battle. If they're willing to give you a bulk price on something, they want it gone, period. So, you know, I don't want to say I'm doing them a favor, but in essence, they think I'm doing them a favor. When they do prices like this, or fill bags, or do whatever, make a pile, give it a price, their number one priority is getting rid of stuff and making some money. So yeah, once I know the prices are cheap and they're willing to bundle, then I start bundling everything together. Hopefully that answers your question. Next stop, the Commonwealth of Virginia. I had 2 separate sales of this Keys of History board game of some sort, and each one different people, $19.95 plus shipping each. As I'm pulling out of this rest stop, I'm going to do one more really quick that I just saw as I was walking back here. It has nothing to do with reselling. They asked me what was my favorite historical story event to share with kids. I taught AP World History, and there are a bunch of them, but the one I really enjoyed because I felt like it really made an impact on kids was a story of Zheng He and the Chinese and their expeditions out of China, which was not a very common thing. It was really anti what China typically did. They usually isolated themselves. And the fact that they had this incredible opportunity to dominate the world, they had the resources and everything that they could possibly do to dominate the world, and they literally put a halt to it. And it opened up the Indian Ocean and it opened up the Pacific even and the Atlantic to all the European traders. And I just think, you know, how would the world be different had it not been for one fatal decision to pull all that back? And it just goes to show kids, hey, you sometimes have opportunities, and it's a really good idea to take hold of those opportunities and seize them, because you never know the opportunity cost of withdrawing from everything and never taking chances. And we get to some pretty good conversations about that. So a little Marilyn Monroe. Do you remember this sale at the 100 Mile Hump? Boy, we got stuff so cheap. And a lot of it I wasn't sure was going to be kind of eBay sellable or not, but it was so dirt cheap. I think I paid 50 cents for a stack of these, a few of them anyways, and they have all sold for at least $15 plus shipping. This is the 7-year itch. Marilyn Monroe, $14.95 plus shipping. I'm going to jump in here with 2 Commons lots. I sold one lot of Davey Allison stickers, like 60 or something like that, for $19 plus shipping. And I sold a, oh, this one was fun. I think I mentioned this in the last video as an experiment. And I don't know if we sold one then and we just sold another one, or if one's still listed, but 2 different bags of Reagan's clothing, all the same size, all clean, not high-end stuff at all, but it was going to get donated. I'm like, I wonder what we could do. Let's see what we could do. We put it all together. It was a really good little lot. Somebody's going to definitely use it. You could sell it. It might take a while to sell some of the pieces because they're not high-end, but you know what? I bet you could take that whole lot and divide it into 4 smaller lots and do okay. And now Reagan's got some money, $21.25 plus shipping. This one is from ABC Matt. As you get more famous on YouTube, how do you stay relatable to your viewers? It still blows my mind to think about reselling celebrity. It's crazy. Believe it or not, Matt, there's almost 500,000 folks on Facebook. And I get more and more people recognizing me from that. But it's really simple answer for me. Is just let my wife on the videos, let her talk, because she will keep me down to earth. She has a knack for doing that, for sure. She's like, who do you think you are? So she definitely could do that. Matt, by the way, ABC Matt, y'all go check out his channel. He's getting close to 1,000. I just realized that may not answer your question good enough. I'll tell you what, look, do the things you always did. Be nice to people, be kind to people, be fair to people. And I think that's you just be who you are from the get-go, and I think that's probably the best advice for something like that. But Matt, you're a good dude. I'll go sub to his channel. I continue to sell these Unmatched Fury wrestling figures. This is Chris Jericho. Pretty darn well. Surprised me. There's not a lot of comps for a lot of these out there, but these Unmatched Fury ones have done pretty well for me, considering there's a lot of low-end ones. But apparently when I bought these, I got them dirt cheap. Like $1 a piece, or maybe half off of $1 a piece. It was something crazy. At any rate, these have done well. We sold the Iron Sheik. No, we still have the Iron Sheik. We've sold a few of them, and this one sold for $29 plus shipping. All right, we made it to Virginia here. Still got a ways to go, but we're gonna do a few more here. I'm gonna go in and get a little slushy. We're at Circle K. So here we go. This one is an interesting question from Pamela. She says, is it a good idea to persuade your family to jump on the reselling train? Why or why not? Depends on what part of your family. I mean, if you're looking at, you know, your immediate family versus your extended family, I think there's probably different answers. I don't know. In all my years, I've learned a few things, especially being a teacher with kids. You know, sometimes kids want to do absolutely everything and anything except for what their parents tell them to do, right? So as far as my own immediate family, I don't push that stuff on them at all. It usually will backfire. If they ever express interest, then yeah, I'd certainly help them out. And I think that's probably true of my extended family as well. I wouldn't ever say, hey, this is what you should do. If it's ever their idea first and they want to come to me and ask me questions, I'm all for it. If you remember, we put a super great deal of the day over there on dibdit.com. Occasionally, I always put good deals over there, but occasionally I put really good deals. And I sold this one for $1. Plus shipping, of course, over on dibdit.com. Here's a question from Josh. He says, as a new reseller, what did you do when you hit around 240 items or so and some things just haven't been seen in over a month? Do you delist those items and add better ones? Okay. there's some more to it, but I'll just stick with that. I'll tell you what, if you're new to reselling, more than likely what you've done is you've bought some things that don't have a very good sell-through rate. I mean, geez, I've been doing it for 24 years. I still do that. So what I would say, it's a good practice for everybody, but especially if you're new, is because there's always an opportunity cost for time as well, right? You want to get new listings up, but you do want to periodically kind of repair the old ones or even remove some of them. I would say go back into like your oldest 100 listings and literally look at them like they're a new listing. Look at each individual item like it's brand new to you, that like you just bought it. You know, screenshot the pictures, do whatever you want to do. If you want to change them, if you want to take new pictures, that takes a lot of time. So if the pictures are okay, I wouldn't mess with that. But yeah, you could delist, relist, sell similar, whatever you want to do, but treat it like it's a new listing. Look at the current comps, look at the sell-through rate. Do I even want to relist this for $4 plus shipping? If you don't, cut bait now, because you don't want to do that repair work on the same bad item 4 or 5 times. And maybe out of those 100, you might find 10 that I'm not even going to deal with these anymore. And out of the other ones, you might find a mistake in the listing. You might find something you can improve, better keywords to put in the listing, a better competitive price to get it sold. And treat all those old listings like they're brand new ones that you're trying to set the right price at the moment, and then try to avoid picking those things in the future. Sold some Tupperware snack cups. These did not last long. They're still on top. And they don't go for a bunch, but when you have the lids and look at different colors, you can do okay on them. That sold for $12.95 plus shipping, and I paid a total of 40 cents. I'm currently in Lynch Station, Virginia, getting closer by the minute. We're gonna do a few more questions here and then answer the one I don't want to answer, but I'll answer it. So this is just from user, a bunch of random numbers here. How do you size shipping containers, such as tubes and even poly mailers that have odd-shaped content? Also, do you ever wrap the original boxes, i.e. shoe boxes, with the contents, or do you always find a larger box? So we'll take them one at a time, I guess. I think there's a truck coming through over there. So if it's a tube, it's like anything else. You got to measure the longest height and width and length. So whatever the longest part of it is what you measure. So that one's fairly easy. And you know, those triangle boxes and stuff that I make for posters and whatnot, you know, you're just gonna measure it at its height and its longest at its width and length. So hopefully that helps. What else do I got here? Okay, so here's my rule of thumb. If it's a box that has something already in its contents, already packaged well, and it's a sturdy box, and it can fit in a poly mailer, or if it's really large, put it in a construction bag, use that as a giant poly mailer, then I'll do it. If it's at all weaker than I like the item to be packed in, I'm gonna put it in a bigger box almost all the time. So hopefully that helps. Back at the Tupperware, this nice little tiny lot of pastel large teacups, or whatever they are, $11.95 plus shipping. This question's from Dayro Tana. I think I got that right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? What would it be and why? I think it would be, I feel like my superpower is finding garage sale signs. I see them out in the distance. My superpower would be knowing how long that garage sale sign has been up on that corner, so I don't have to go down some rabbit trail on some wild goose chase for a yard sale that happened 3 weeks ago that they didn't put the date on it. That would be my superpower. Next one, I hate to say, was unfortunately slightly undersold, but you know what? On the upside of it, and it's because of new versus used, and this one was actually new, but it wasn't in a package, and it did have the strap that was off of it at the time. And anyway, long story short, I only paid $5 for this thing, and it sold for $50 plus shipping fairly quickly. But I think we could have definitely got at least $20 more for it. And that is a first for me. I've never picked up a pickleball paddle. So if you haven't either, maybe you should be looking for them. This would happen to be new and a pretty good one, and I definitely am glad I picked it up. John asks, which skills, if any, from teaching have helped you in reselling, and how? I don't know. Probably, to be honest, not too many, but I will say this. I used to sell jeans all the time, and boy, I could see an immediate change. When all the girls started wearing the yoga pants and stuff to school, the jean market kind of died out. And then, of course, you know, everything is cyclical and comes back, and you can see the different styles that they're wearing. When I started to see kids wear vintage clothing. Like the rich kids wear vintage clothing to school. I'm like, huh, this might be something, and it sure turned out to be. And I saw we sold another comic book lot on shopcommons.net. That was 100 comics. It sold for 35 or 40. I'll have to check. Here's one as I walk back to my car here. It's kind of nice to get out of the car and do this. So, oh, I lost it. When do you think, who asked this question here? Tar Heel Flips. When do you think eBay will start accepting Bitcoin? I have no idea. I don't even know if it'll happen. Y'all maybe can answer that one in the comments below. What equipment, the hobby spot, what equipment do you use for yard sale videos, and why have you had different cameras and one was better than the other? I've only ever used a GoPro. Started with a GoPro Hero Black 7, and then I went to an 8 and a 9. This one I'm holding right now is actually a 9. I had to look. And the one I used for garage sales is a 10. I had an 11. Did I ever have an 11? I think I did have an 11, and I sold it because it was wonky. I think something was wrong with it. But maybe I'll do one of those things right here and put a GoPro camera affiliate link in this video. I've kind of enjoyed that. Thank y'all for using those links, by the way. And next question is the last one, and I'll give you a preview. What do you make more money at, social media or reselling? Haven't sold a banner. Look at old Poncho. Ooh, what a puppy. A banner in a while, and this one got discounted, I believe. It's nothing amazing. It's not in perfect condition, as you can see. But, you know, I pick them up for 50 cents or buy them in giant boxes, and they do okay. Follow the Sun. And this one sold just for $8.95 plus shipping. All right, here it is. This one comes from Biggs Collectibles. I picked a bad spot for this video. I might have to let some of these cars go past first. And these books just continue to keep giving. And we are getting up there into the $700 or $800 profit range at this point, with a few to go. Matter of fact, this probably puts us over the $800 mark in profit on these games and books and all that stuff. Little homeschooling good and beautiful set. $25.95 plus shipping. If there is such a thing as a busy intersection in Lynch Station, this is it. So Biggs, first of all, Biggs, thanks for the question. He helps us out a ton on dibdit.com. We appreciate you. So this is actually a harder question than you might imagine, because there's so much intertwined, you know. Reselling feeds into the social media feeds into the reselling, and it's not quite as easy as to come up with a percentage. So if you'll allow me to answer the question in a slightly different way, it should give you an idea. First, we'll start with the reselling side of it. I currently make enough to live off of on the reselling side of it. We don't spend a lot of money. We're pretty frugal for the most part. I try to keep my bills low. I don't live on credit. And so I make enough now reselling to match what I used to make as a teacher and reselling. I'll give you a rough number of $100,000 a year on the reselling side. And I don't even know if that's completely accurate, but that's selling on all platforms. That's eBay, that's now dibdit.com, that's shopcommons.net, that's Mercari, that's Bonanza, etc., whatnot, etc., etc. So we do pretty darn good. But how much of that wouldn't be there without the social media? You know, that's up for debate. A lot of people who ask this question, not you, Biggs, but a lot of people ask this question for the reason of taking away some kind of legitimacy. I hate that. You know, my doctor is a reseller. I guarantee you he makes more money as a doctor than he does reselling, but he's still a reseller. Another thing a lot of people don't realize for the social media part of it, there's a lot of cost. There's quite a few people on my payroll, from very small amounts to a little bit higher. Like it's very difficult, especially for me who doesn't know technology, to keep up with everything. I'm on, you know, people are watching this on Commonwealth Flipper channel, but there's Commonwealth Picker YouTube channel as well. There's a Garage Sale Nation YouTube channel. There's TikTok. There's Instagram. There's Facebook Commonwealth Picker. There's 2 different Facebook groups. There's all kinds of different social media that I make varying bits of income from. And of course, they can all feed into other things like affiliate links and ads on different platforms. There's all kinds of stuff. So to give a quantitative number for everything and to make it accurate would be pretty hard. So I'm just gonna say this, my primary income still, if you take all of the different social media platforms, all the different places that we're on, all of those things, there's a car stopping here. I don't know what's going on. Oh, they're turning down a different road. None of them outpace, if you take away expenses, the reselling side of it. However, cumulatively on all of those sites, they make more money if you take in everything into account than the reselling part of the business. And you know, I used to be in some other folks' shoes where I'd watch 7, 8 years ago, I'd watch people doing this. I'm like, I wonder how much they're making on the social media side of the business, right? And it inspires you to like, could I do this reselling and then supplement with all this other stuff? Could I make it work? Could it work for me? Could it give me enough money? So I'll also add to the discussion that there are very few people who really succeed in social media to the point where it's making a significant amount of money. I would say there's probably a dozen who really could even be asked this question, if I give you an idea. Most of the folks I know don't make more on social media than they do at reselling. Matter of fact, most of them make little to nothing on social media, and they put in tons and tons of hours. That's why I don't suggest folks do it unless you think you've got something in a real dedication and some backup money and stuff, because there's a huge opportunity cost to it. So I know that won't satisfy some folks. Maybe I'll give a little bit more. This channel you're watching right now makes in a year about half as much as I would make as a reseller. I'll give you an idea. One more bit of info here. I had to get in the car. There's so many cars going by here making noise. It also takes me, the amount of time I spend on this channel, the Commonwealth Flipper channel, is roughly equivalent to the amount of time I spend on listing and shipping on eBay. It's a lot of time. And as I pull out of here for the last stretch home, let me just say one more thing here, 2 more things, I guess. It was always my goal to replace, I was always a reseller. Like I said, I've done this for 24 years, and there were years that I made more as a reseller than I did as a teacher. We surpassed that income, and that was long before I ever made a YouTube video. And so my goal when I did quit was to make videos that would help people and be entertaining, and I was hoping to make enough to replace my teaching income and replace the lost pension. And so far it's been successful, and we've been loading up on that Roth IRA just to make sure that when it comes time to retire and I don't have that pension like I would have, that there's money to be had, or if something happened to me, my family'd be okay. So I'm just incredibly grateful that it has worked out thus far, and I owe it all to everybody who watches on different platforms and supports us, and I can't thank y'all enough. You guys have been awesome to us, and I am just about home. So are we there yet? Almost, but I am home. Y'all have a great day, and I can't wait to see you next time. SoCal GP, I've never used hair dye in my whole life, promise. I'm not a swinger.